Welcome to another episode of Mo Hai Ba Yo here in beautiful Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And I've got a new guest for us here on everybody's favorite show. This is Cory Bentley. How's he doing, Cory?
Pleasure. It's an honor to be here.
It's not hard to be on this amazing podcast where we do everything that involves learning about interesting expats and their love of Mo Hai Ba Yo, which is the way we say cheers here in Vietnam. So, to start things off, we're going to talk to Cory a little bit about his entrepreneurial spirit. He is a Canadian like myself, and in fact, we lived in the same town at a certain point. He may not have been aware that I was living in his town, but I was there for about 6 months. Timmins, Ontario, Canada. Now, in Mo Hai Ba Yo, we try a different cocktail, drink, beer, whatever it happens to be, each question, and we discuss after what's going on with you in the city, right? So today we're going to start the first round with a drink from Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is a established icon in this city, and they've got a great bar down on in District 1. So if anybody gets the chance, hit up Saigon, go to District 1, get yourself a drink at Heart of Darkness. This is their Kurtz's Insane IPA. Are you ready to get insane, Cory?
I am.
He's from Timmins, so he's probably halfway there anyway. Timmins, Ontario, Canada. Mo Hai Ba Yo is cheers, but Mo Cham Phun Cham is 100%, and we go 100% straight from the jump. Are you ready, Cory?
Let's do it.
Mo Hai Ba Yo! Mo Cham Phun Cham. It's a nice idea. Let's get started. Right. So, what's funny is Cory and I, even though he might have been, I'm guessing, high school, when I was there in 2004.
Oh yeah, there, high school.
2004, I was a assistant sports editor for the Timmins Daily Press.
You have my sincere condolences for even being in Timmins.
Yeah, it's an interesting part of the world. It's northern Ontario. You're about 10-hour drive from Toronto. But for those of you who don't know, there are some fairly famous people that emerged from the Timmins area. Now, it would be easy to just name drop hockey players that appeared in the NHL. I'm gonna get Cory to identify 3 prominent people that did not play professional sports that come from the Timmins area.
Oh my goodness. The only truly famous person I'm aware from the Timmins area would be Shania Twain, of course.
Shania, she's on fire. That's an easy
we even built a museum for her.
The Interpretive Center. The Interpretive Center, yep.
And we spent millions of dollars on a museum for her. Didn't make any money, so we blended it with the gold mine tour that nobody comes for either. And
True.
Collectively, they still both don't make any money.
There. Timmins, what's up? So that's one person. Who else can you name drop from your town? You'd be like, oh yeah, I know.
Other singer born in Sudbury actually, but grew up for a good amount of time in Timmins is, now I'm blanking on the name. I knew you were trouble when you walked in. That one.
Might be a penalty drink for
Mr.
Cory. I have to get a penalty beer over here.
Guess so.
I actually have a spare. Oh, you've got your sipper there, so why don't you go with that one?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I've got a few names here, so why don't you try one more, and I could read off some famous people for those people out in the internet that do not know Timmins so well.
The only other one I know is Delorier, but that's a hockey player too. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of hockey players. All right, I got Paul Bellini, which would people in Canada might recognize as a comedy writer and actor. I've got, there's a ton of NHL players. I've got Roy Thompson, was a major newspaper tycoon. I've got Jim Prentice, the former premier of Alberta. People out there that are not from Canada probably won't care, but he got 1 out of 3, so he has to do a penalty, Cham Phun Cham, just for screwing around on us. Take your taster, Cory.
You want Cham Phun Cham my taster already?
50%.
Let's compromise half.
50%.
Yeah, all right. Be easy on me.
Not muy Phun Cham. Yeah. Now, being as we are in your awesome dwelling, which is in the beautiful Bintan district of Ho Chi Minh City. Why don't you describe to us what you do in the city and what's your company all about?
Right. So I've been in Vietnam for about 3.5 years now. I used to live up in Hanoi for a year. Been down in Saigon for about 2.5 years.
We'll allow it.
Yeah.
Hanoi's okay. We'll allow it.
Eventually, I made the move to the happening place.
Yep.
I've been working in marketing in Southeast Asia for about 7.5 years now. Started my own marketing agency here.
Yep.
And have since more recently rebranded, started a new company called Xperx AI.
Xperx. Look that up, Xperx.
So this is applying a lot of the things that TagPrize was doing, but into a SaaS platform. Main ideas are collect consumer data and use it. A lot of businesses already have this data, but they don't know how to organize it, they don't know how to use it. And in this day and age, the tools are there.
Yeah.
There's just no excuse anymore for putting out these blanket ads, 15% off for everyone, buy one, get one free. Nobody cares about that anymore because everybody has it. People respond to personalized ads. The ad should say, hey, Brian, thanks for coming by last week and buying a cappuccino at our new store. If you invite a friend, if you come 3 times the next week, if you share on Facebook, you and your friend both get 20% off your next drink. Things like this, something that's very targeted, personalized, and relevant.
What would you say are the main differences between Saigon and Hanoi from your perspective?
I mean, Hanoi has a warm place in my heart. I definitely prefer living in Saigon. I still go back up to Hanoi once every month or two for business. But for the most part, Hanoi is a little bit more of that Wild West feeling, I think. Still quite like open there, a little bit more crazy, not as much, what would I call like office infrastructure. It doesn't have as much of that Western feel. It still has more of the traditional Vietnamese feel to it. So certainly I would say if you're a traveler, here for a short time, and you're looking to see some of the real cultural Vietnam, maybe up in the north is where you're going to see more of that. But if you're here to live long term and do business, and you want the comfort and the business life and that that strong community, I would recommend Saigon as the place to be.
Would your impression be it's kind of like it's the capital, it's kind of a government hub, but it's also this like land of temples and lakes and what have you? Saigon, make that money, get that dong.
Absolutely. Saigon is a super organized business city. Feels like any major Western city. Hanoi has a very unique feel. It's more like being in a traditional city in Japan or something like that. It's got that mixture of temples, local feeling areas, dirt roads, a few skyscrapers. Yeah, totally blended in.
2 vibes, 1 country. So that's question 1 done. Here we are with Cory Bentley one more time. This is question 2 on Mo Hai Ba Yo. So it takes a special kind of guy to move from Timmins, Ontario, where I lived and only saw in the 6 months I lived there, grass for about a day. It was snow and rocks and wolves and trees. So he's come all the way to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, via Hanoi. And where else have you gone on your world journey?
Previously, I was working in Japan for 3 years, studied at a couple of universities there, and I did some volunteering in Colombia and Ecuador about half a year.
So we're gonna get more into that, but we're gonna do our second round of Mo Hai Ba Yo while we find out Cory's life journey. What we've got here is the Khao Nhak Ban
Japan Bridge
Heritage Blonde.
Khao.
Do you speak Vietnamese?
Oh yeah, anh là Việt kiêu. Yeah, không phải nhưng biết nói tiếng Việt rồi.
Biết nói tiếng Việt, ôi giời ơi. So Khao Nhak Ban Bridge, Japan. That's basically
This is a famous bridge in Hoi An.
It is from Bridges Brewing Company, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a Mo Cham Pun Cham of their beer. Are you ready, Cory? Mo Hai Ba Yo, Mo Cham Pun Cham. He's from Timmins. This is no problem for him. Slugging back a brew or two.
That's how we wake up.
Ain't no thing but a chicken wing.
Nicely tossed.
Right, so.
Perfectly landed exactly where it was supposed to go.
For reals. Where did you travel on your life path on the way to Ho Chi Minh City?
I mean, I've visited.
Briefly as possible for the viewers
I've visited a lot of places, but let's say grew up in Timmins, studied in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, at Queen's
University, yeah.
And then studied on research programs at Meiji University in Tokyo, Kansai Gakuin University in Kobe, and then did volunteering in Colombia and Ecuador, and then came to work in Hiroshima, Japan for 3 years.
Okay.
Moved to Hanoi for a year, and then have been living in Saigon for 2.5 years.
How's your Japanese?
What
What he said.
Quite fluent, better than my Vietnamese.
What he said. I know yakisoba. Yakisoba. What would you say are the differences between, because you speak Vietnamese also,
Yes.
learning those two languages, alphabets, tones, general headaches dealing with random dude in the shop? Compare them for me, please.
Yeah, I learned Japanese faster and better because in Japan, especially where I was living, literally nobody else speaks English. You don't have a choice.
Immersion.
Vietnamese is a little bit harder, not because the language is harder, but because everybody here speaks English. So there's a lot less pressure, it's harder to practice. But I would say Japanese, much easier to speak, much harder to write. Vietnamese, very hard to speak, very easy to write.
As an aside, you lived in Hanoi, you lived in Saigon. Are they similar or super different as far as speaking Vietnamese?
Yeah, quite different. The tones and the accent is, and even the words are surprisingly different.
Slang.
Overall, I would say that the Hanoi accent, I think, is a little bit easier to speak. It's a little bit more clear cut. It's a little bit more consistent. The Saigonese accent, a little bit more difficult to work with, but it's more friendly sounding. It flows together. It's more musical. It's more like French. You know?
Have you been? Well, for those of us that speak French, moi je parle français. Je sais pas si il parle un petit peu aussi.
Mon père famille en français.
Je
connais bien en français dans un cours primaire, secondaire.
Mais alors, we can say to everybody out there that you just got variations on a theme, right? You can figure out how to kind of work between the two cities.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I was able to run businesses successfully in Hanoi, but the feedback I always got from Hanoi friends when I did so was, dude, if you want to run businesses, you're in the wrong city, go down to Saigon.
Fair. Round 3 here on Mop Hai Ba Yo with Cory Bentley from Timmins, Ontario, Canada. What? Cory? Nói tiếng Việt không?
Yeah. Em có.
Nói tiếng Việt một chút, nói tiếng Việt nhiều, nói gì?
Em đang tôi học tiếng Việt khoảng 2 năm rồi, nhưng anh vẫn phải học nhiều.
2 năm rồi. Nói tiếng Bắc không?
Yeah, trước em đã sống ở Hanoi 1 năm, cho nên em vẫn dùng trong tiếng Bắc.
For those of you out there that may or may not speak Vietnamese, it's a complicated language. So there's the northern Vietnamese, Thanh Bắc, and then we got the Saigon style as the southern part of the country. Now, I was going to ask you, because you lived in Japan previously and you also learned Japanese, what would you say are the biggest differences between learning those two languages, and how did you learn them?
In fact, I would say that they're polar opposites. I learned Japanese a lot quicker because nobody speaks English in Japan, whereas everybody speaks English in Vietnam, so it's harder to learn it here. But Japanese, I would say, is extremely easy to speak. 5 vowels, no accents. A, I, U, E, O, Ka, Ki, Ku, Ke, Ko, Sa, Shi, Su, Se, so very flat. Vietnamese, you got the accents, you got it on top of single, double, and triple vowel sounds. It's a lot more complicated to speak.
Whoa, there's a lot going on. I need a drink before I learn any more about this stuff. Luckily for me, I have a passion fruit wheat ale right here from Pasteur. Have you been to Pasteur Street Brewing Company here?
I have.
Pasteur Street has multiple locations for their tap rooms around Ho Chi Minh City. This is one of the most flavorful beers that they've got. I think we should try one right now before you get into the intricacies of speaking Vietnamese. So,
We should.
and I think we
look
should.
at that.
Honestly, we should just chant from Chan.
Speak about the devil. There we
Yeah.
go.
Ready? Mo hai ba yo. Mo cham cham. And if we're gonna talk about learning Vietnamese, I gotta get loose. I'm not gonna lie.
It's getting
Kill a layer here.
It's very hot to sit next to Harry.
Yeah, hot boy, hot temperatures. For example, in Vietnamese, if I said to you, here's a lovely lady, her name is Ngọc, right? So Ngọc is the downward tone, but if you say it the wrong way, like Ngọc, do you know the difference between those two words?
Stupid.
One is pearl, Ngọc, and one is stupid, Ngọc. So for instance, a friend of mine had a girlfriend named Ngọc, but he called her Ngọc. for 6 months. I don't know why she hung out. Yeah. 2 or 3 years. Yeah, some people have done it longer. What are some interesting, you got it kind of wrong at the beginning and possibly offended somebody moments where you were learning Vietnamese? Can you think of any?
Oh man, I mean like...
There's plenty of opportunity to offend people. Don't worry.
I mean, there's a solid 6 different words with ma, M-A, right? So that's one of the first ones you run into.
Ma. Yeah.
So depending on whether you're ending every single sentence, in a lot of cases with a lot of girls like to say everything ma at the end of the downtown.
Oi, zoi, oi, un café ma, which is like I had a coffee.
Come yo ah, even though they're talking to their cat, they'll add everything with ma at the
Let me
end.
say do. Don't be doing that.
And if you say the ma with a flat tone, you're talking about ghosts. So
Yeah, ghost, something a bit salty, and kind of a like add on, oh, I went to the shop, Kind of like that, right? Is there anything that specifically stands out, or?
when I first lived in Hanoi, I lived on a street in Long Bien called
Famous
Gap
bridge area?
Yeah, I
Yep.
used to go over to Long Bien Bridge all the time and Khao Chung Dung. But we lived on a street called Ngap Tui,
Okay.
which was like one of the hardest streets, I guess you can pronounce in Vietnamese. So for the first while when I was learning Vietnamese, I felt so frustrated because people asked me like, oh, where do you live? And I said like, oh, man Ngap Tui. What? Ngap Tui. What? Ngap Tui. Ah, Ngap Tui. Like, that's exactly what I said.
In Vietnamese, did you ever get this?
Come here.
The famous jazz hands that mean I don't understand. Did you ever get that one?
I don't understand.
I get
you
it
can't
like
do it.
every other day. 9 years. You ever get that one?
Got a few of those.
Did you get that more in Vietnam or in Japan?
No, so Japanese are extremely polite. Even if your Japanese sucks or they're offended, they won't let you know. They'll tell you,
They'll just
wow,
still pace. Great.
your Japanese
Whatever
is
you said.
amazing.
Yep. Whereas in Vietnam, they let you know.
They'll let you know you fucked up.
I don't understand. Come here, come here. Now, for example, I've seen the word pho. Does pho have different tones that can be interpreted in different ways?
Oh yeah, you can be a street, you can be a
One can
soup.
be something to do with real estate or housing, can't it? I think pho.
Streets, locations, buildings, especially like long streets or boulevards can be.
What tone would that be?
That would traditionally be with the uptone, I think.
So
Pho?
say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, like pho làm bien or pho.
What if you wanted to order the famous noodle soup? Pho.
Well, then you gotta combine the o hook, which is with the hoi tone, which is but also depends on the northern or southern accent. It's in north and in south.
Say pho for me right now.
Pho.
If you knew that there was a beer that had the name pho appear somewhere in that beer, would you drink it?
Absolutely.
I think we have one right now. Oh, I don't know what it is, but like after a few rounds of Mohai Bayo, I just kind of feel like, changing things up a little bit. I'm gonna,
Untied.
this is going upstairs. Going upstairs. Have you ever seen The Beer Hunter or The Deer Hunter with Christopher Walken?
I've been told to watch it a few times.
There's a headband involved, and there's a bit of, let me get the mic out of my tie. I just feel like this is more of a headband style scene because it's a very contentious point in Vietnam. Understanding local cuisine, right? Now, he just said screw that thing, right? So, on Mohai Bayo, we like to make sure everybody knows about local foods and things as well. And in Vietnam, what's the most worldwide exported food you can think of?
Rice.
Okay, well, next, like a dish.
Pho.
Yeah, talking about pho. So, there are different tones in Vietnam, and so pho can be the noodle soup, but it can also be this lovely beer from Hanoi. Can you read that tone for me? What's that tone right there?
Special ale beer pho. Yeah, that's the soup pho.
What he said, right? Now we're gonna try this beer out and see if it actually tastes like a delicious noodle soup from Vietnam. I think 2 of them are coming this way as we speak.
Whoa, look at that.
We're gonna pass judgment on it because I'm acquainted with the Saigon beers, but this is a Hanoi one. So ready? Mo, hi, ba, yo, cham pun cham, as usual. Tasty beer.
Nothing like a beer Hanoi pho.
But to you, did it taste like noodle soup?
It didn't quite taste like the pho Hanoi.
What did it taste like to you?
There's a hint of something,
Ginger?
salty or stocky or gingery in there. Yeah.
I'm not sure. So, speaking of food in Vietnam, there are many different delicious dishes. If you live in, like, let's say, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, you're quite acquainted with pho. But you may not know about banh xeo. Insert photo of a beautiful, delicious seafood pancake. You may not know about bun dam mam tom. You may not know about a whole bunch of different dishes. What would you say are the dishes that stand out to you as, if I come to Vietnam, I should eat that thing?
My favorite thing, and I did every time I go up to Hanoi, is bún chả Hanoi.
Bún chả, bacon soup, basically.
I eat that shit every day for
soup.
lunch.
Describe it for our viewers if you can.
All right, so vermicelli noodle soup with barbecued beef patties, mixed vegetables.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So bun is kind of the thin vermicelli noodle. Let's say pho is kind of a different kind of noodle. There's also mien. There's a few different ones, right? So let's say that's bún chả for the North experience. Give me one more. Give me one more, and then we'll get to our next question.
One more standout food. It's quite popular here. Snails.
I'm gonna say for me, there's a lot of work with very little calorie payoff because I find I eat up for like 3 hours and I'm still a little bit hungry.
It's a great thing for a diet.
If you want to drink beer and eat something and not be full, up is for you.
There you go.
Let's get ready for round 5. That's a lot of booze we've had so far, Cory.
A couple.
You want to eat something? Are you hungry?
How you package?
I wouldn't mind some yum yum chicken. They're really good. Have you ever had them?
I have. If only it would magically appear.
Whoa! Where'd the yum yum chicken come from? That's a nice piece of yum yum chicken. Available all throughout Ho Chi Minh City. It's a fabulous thing. Let's all have some.
Perfect.
The yum yum literally means yum yum. There we go. That's fabulous. I love it. Is this legal? It's so good. Honestly. I could eat that all day. To our next question here on Mo Hai Ba Yo. We're talking about different kinds of personality traits that may or may not translate well from the West. So, every now and then you encounter a cultural difference that could be, just in Vietnam, could be across Asia that might be different from our homeland of Canada, Every now and then someone points out to me that I'm a bit abrasive, but I just feel like I'm giving my opinion. That may be one way to interpret it. What would you say is the personality trait that has gotten you in the most trouble? But let me give you that second to think about that while we introduce our next drink, the Saigon Rosé from East West Brewery. It's a fabulous little tipple. So we're gonna have these brought over to us right here off screen. So while you think, you should drink alcohol because it makes you smarter.
Drink a thing.
Because it makes me smarter every day, a few times a day, really. Mo Hai Ba Yo. Mo cham cham. So between the time I asked the question and now, with a beer in between, you clearly have an idea which personality trait has given you possibly some unexpected consequences over here in Asia.
So without tooting my own horn, I would say punctuality has been a problem here.
Because you're too punctual?
Well, so coming from Canada, 10, 15 minutes late, that's normal. More than 15 minutes, all right, your friend's being a bit of a dick.
Yes.
Japan, if you are 30 seconds late to anything ever, whether it be work, friends, you're done. You're fired, you're not friends anymore. One time, doesn't happen, don't care what your excuse is, don't tell me about traffic.
Fair.
You're gone. That's it. So in Vietnam with business appointments with friends, it's always been a little bit difficult to tell friends hey, we're meeting at 8. And by 8, I don't mean 9, I mean 8. I mean 8 o'clock. I mean not 8:30, I mean 8,
Saigon time can be a little bit different. But do you find that the time that you spend with these people is used in different ways versus a meeting in Japan? Would you say, you get through the preamble of the business meeting and get straight to the beers? Or what would you say are the differences between meetings in Vietnam and Japan?
Japanese meetings definitely have a lot more structure. There's certainly you have to go through an introduction, you have to give the reasons for what you want to present, you have to make the proper presentation, then you can go out for drinks. Vietnamese meetings are quite flexible. There's a lot of talk about how much business we're going to talk about, and then 5 minutes in, it's all right, let's start having some drinks.
I'm surprised the drinks even waited that long.
5 minutes is a long meeting.
So if that's the case, we should probably get to our next drink, but I might have to give my wardrobe a little update. All right, here we are, and the next round of Mo Hai Ba Yo, we're on Cory's amazing view of Ho Chi Minh City in the background. What? Also, I got a little bit more casual in the interim.
Can't be too safe.
Yeah, safety first. That's in all things. And that's for all of you out there in the internet as well. I thought we would try out something from Heart of Darkness. This is the dream alone as opposed to be alone. Let's not be alone. Let's all be together.
Never dream alone.
Never dream alone and other things alone. Pale ale. So this is the Heart of Darkness. It's a little bit more kick than the other ones. So why don't we just... Oh, they're coming from elsewhere. Wait, go back one more time. Just keep going?
It's all good.
Fuck it, who fucking cares? Yo, are you ready? Whoa! Hi, ba! Yo! That's the beauty of this show, is that we can bring in the wrong drink and we'll drink whatever's come to us anyway. Cory.
Yes, sir.
Look around you. You're surrounded by a variety of wonderful and interesting architectural wonders. Near us is the Landmark 81, the tallest structure in Vietnam. Do you know anything about that building?
Well, I know it's the tallest structure in Vietnam. It's called the Landmark 81.
Well, so if you could be reincarnated as a architectural or otherwise interesting landmark worldwide, could be Vietnam, could be wherever, what would it be?
You know what? I guess I'd have to be Ho Bum. I guess I'd have to be Hon Kiem, the Return Sword Lake.
The Return Sword Lake in Hanoi. Please tell us a little bit about that place.
It's a pretty lake. It's got a nice walking street recently around it. And it has a very interesting story about a guy who borrowed a sword from the mouth of a turtle and made sure to bring it back.
That's true. It's a well-known piece of Vietnamese myth and folklore. And I believe it's the sort of thing that will help lead us into the next question here on Mo Hai Ba Yo! All right, here we are heading into the final stages of Mo Hai Ba Yo, and look at this beautiful scenery in the background behind us. Ho Chi Minh City is a major metropolis worldwide. Forget Asia, forget just Vietnam, the whole world. Like, this is the place I personally feel happiest in this particularly strange period in history. So me and Cory are gonna kill a couple of these from Tay. I have the electric IPA.
I've got the white ale.
He's got the white ale, and we're gonna do a champun cham on these, and then I'm gonna give Cory a second or two to think, because around the world, COVID-19 has been an issue, and we would like to hear why Vietnam has done so well, and why we're all still out, going out to restaurants, going to school, all this kind of stuff, and the rest of the world maybe not being in the same place. We're gonna throw this back. Cory's gonna give us his impressions as someone living here. Are you ready?
Cheers.
Are you ready? Mo Hai Ba Yo.
Oh, that's a big beer.
Warn you, this one's gonna be a little harder than it says.
Round two.
Whew.
There we go.
There it is.
Excuse me, because we're going into some fairly serious subject matter. Cory, I mean, around the world, it's been an issue, but in Vietnam, like, we're going back to school, we're going to the gym, we're going to restaurants. What do you think maybe Vietnam possibly could share with the world about how to have managed this pandemic differently?
And this has been probably the best place in the world to be at the moment, and it's really underfeatured in the news for what it is.
I agree. I agree.
You know, some of it is advantages. You know, you got your pros and cons, whatever you want to say about a one-party country. But one of the advantages is that they implemented control very quickly.
Yep.
The public knowledge response was very good. They popularized a music video about how to react to the coronavirus response that immediately took off.
You hear it everywhere.
Everywhere.
You hear it everywhere.
And it was even featured on, the British guy who used to be on The Daily Show. John Oliver is what I'm talking about. He featured also how amazing the Vietnamese coronavirus response has been. So, tight country, despite having thousands of kilometers of contiguous land border with China.
True.
Quick response, very good public response, public information, high trust of the government. Because of those things.
No stigma about wearing masks.
Yeah.
It was just not a big deal to wear a mask in this country.
You don't have to force people to wear masks, which is a big deal. Like, people will wear masks every day as a regular public health initiative.
Agreed.
And you don't have to twist their arm. You don't have to force them to do it.
Face masks, these face masks are the most important, powerful public health tool we have.
Whereas everybody else is, in so many countries, is complaining about such a small amount of effort to make such a big difference. Here, people just do it, even if you don't ask them to.
And not to minimize the impact of it. The thing that they were able to do here that's been difficult to replicate elsewhere is one of those things where, like, you don't necessarily read about it, but I think it's one of those things that we should mention in this kind of video.
It's an early, hard, quick, full-out response. It did the trick. It did exactly what it was supposed to do.
For those of us living here, there are a lot of expats that are actually saying, well, I'm just going to stay here and just see what happens because I'm better off in Vietnam than somewhere else. So I feel like if we didn't share that with you, it would be a disservice to what the good work Vietnam did. So, yo Vietnam.